Good evening, everyone. So wonderful to have you all join us tonight. I am Nazrin Himada. I'm the curator here at Plug In Institute of Contemporary Art, which is located on Treaty 1 territory. The territories of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Treaty 1 was signed in 1871, taking this territory from 7 local Anishinaabe First Nations in order to make the land available for settler use and ownership. Plug-in is an institution, and institutions are fraught places, historically conditioned by the colonial structures that create them for settler use and ownership. Here at Plug-in, we are thinking and feeling through this as we recognize the ways in which art institutions continue to contribute to the settler colonial narrative and embody its politic. As the curator here in such an institution, I acknowledge the limitations that I might come up against, and I continue to ask myself, what are the commitments of Plug-in when it comes to decentering settler narratives and knowledge? What changes am I able to implement in my position? What are my responsibilities and priorities? And how are they motivated by the possibilities that open up when structural transformation is at the heart of the work that is to be done and that must be done? The art that I love is one that troubles our understanding of the world, one that shifts our ways of being in order to transform, work that moves us toward accountability, to be accountable to each other and to the promises we make, to put us to task in order to implement change. And I hope in my capacity to do so, these changes will not be symbolic and are not reduced to superficial modes of inclusivity or diversity, but are concrete and ongoing. This means that as curator of Plug-in, I will continue to center the work of Indigenous artists, Black artists, artists of color, whose contribution to contemporary art is vast, has a long history, and continues to rock the foundations of colonial settler provenance. Here at Plug-in, we aim to showcase programs and exhibitions that not only challenge us or encourage us to ask questions differently, but move us toward new connections, collectivities, feelings never felt before, new imaginings of otherworldly existence that give life to possibility within what often seems impossible. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce our closing event of the 2020 Prairie Art Book Fair program, which is co-presented with the University of Manitoba Institute for the Humanities. The fair itself is composed of 2 parts, as a series of online readings, workshops, and events that go on until tonight, and as web pages, compiling a selection of artists, writers, and publishers from the prairies and beyond that will be highlighted through the month of September and October. To explore the work of the 2020 Prairie Art Book Fair online exhibitors and to know more about our programming, please link to plugin.org. I also want to remind our viewers tonight that you can ask questions through our Facebook chat, or you can email them to questions@plugin.org. So I'm pleased and so happy that Patterns Collective is here with us today and have curated a wonderful evening with filmmaker Dafe Oboro. Patterns Collective was initially founded on the idea of curating performances via virtual platforms, and their goal is to bring communities together and connect artists from far and near by breaking the barrier of location. Patterns Collective is composed of Chukwudubem Ukaigwe, Shaneela Boodoo, and Mahlet Cuff. I'm so pleased to have them, all 3 of them, here tonight with Dafe, and I'm pleased and so excited to see the film A Beautiful Struggle and to hear the discussion. So I'll pass it on to them.
Hi, my name is Mahlet Cuff, and I am 1/3 of Patterns Collective with Chukwudubem and Shaneela. So tonight we have a screening and a discussion of the film A Beautiful Struggle by Dafe Oboro. To introduce Dafe Oboro is a filmmaker, photographer, producer, and a casting director based in Lagos, Nigeria. And Chukwudubem will be in conversation with Dafe throughout the evening. So the film A Beautiful Struggle is a fashionable portrait following a small-town man's pursuit of stardom against a vibrant psychedelic backdrop of Lagos City, where music is his passion. Written and directed by Dafe Oboro, in collaboration with Vlisco&co, featuring fashion designs by Pape Oyeyemi and Abiola Olusola. We'll be watching the film very soon. But yeah, this is A Beautiful Struggle by Dafe Oboro.
Hello, Dafe. Welcome. and thanks for joining us and staying up late.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm just going to jump into this, and I'm going to start by saying that this film is a beautiful fictional biography, but it also happens to be a documentary of the protagonist, Smart Song, who is an actual musician. It's also a vibrant documentation of Lagos and a beautiful portrait of Ajegunle. I do observe lots of Nigerians react to degrading depiction of certain parts of Africa by Western journalism, and most of the times these reactions are a defensive pandering to like Western ideals. You know, people post pictures of nicer parts of Africa with the caption like, you know, the Africa they never talk about. This statement comes with its a denial of African architecture, African culture, African communal ways of life, and the beautiful struggle you do paint in this film. I see this film to be an opposition to neocolonial sentiments. You have taken sides with the masses, as you should, speaking their language and displaying the humanity in Ajegunle, a part of Lagos that's always looked down upon by other Lagosians. I'm curious to know, are the people in this part of Lagos aware of this film? And if they are, like, what has been their reaction?
We screened it like a month after the actual screening. We screened it in Ajegunle here mostly for the people who helped during production and the protagonist's family as well. So they really liked it. They saw themselves in the film, which was very much important. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. Wow, I can imagine. That's beautiful. When I watch your films, particular themes stand out to me, irrespective of like the narrative, like in most, like, stays consistent in almost all your films. One of them is the perspectival intelligence that goes into the way you handle the camera, or the way the camera is handled. Another one is like time, you know, the way things are slowed down or sped up. Another important theme is gestures. You know, particular subjects in your film engage the camera with sharp, abstract gestures, you know, like a swift turn of the head, therefore catching the viewer off guard. One of the most profound themes in your work, or like, you know, tools you use in your work is sound. The way you mix music with the ambient sound of the community, the recorded conversations overlapped over the scenes, you know, the radio broadcast, television broadcast, like, you know, that's amazing. And like, you know, the intentionality that goes into this experimental approach is even more astounding. What is your style of writing? I assume a huge part of your writing occurs in the middle of making the film, taking into consideration the experimental use of sound and gestures.
Yeah, it's more of like, I consider myself a foam. So you put a foam into like a regular Lagos street or into a bucket filled with water. The foam comes out wet, and then you squeeze it into an empty bucket. My work is the empty bucket. Lagos is my inspiration. So that you see that in my film. And we were actually listening to the audio. We couldn't see the film, right? And the audio itself, it's an experience. It's almost like you're in the place. And that's what I was trying to get across, in what I always try to get across in every of my work. When I'm creating the visual, I'm also thinking about the audio. So like things from what I heard last year, from what I heard yesterday, from what I heard my mom say, like for this A Beautiful Struggle, you can hear a part where it says, "Oh, that fair, you never bath finish." That's like, have you not finished taking your bath? My mom always says that every Sunday. So I always take time in the shower. And she's like, "You know how bath finished?" So like, I wanted to include that because like, you know, the film itself is like a whole like depiction of my own reality and the reality of others, as well as the reality of the protagonist. So like it's very important for me to, you know, show every part, even when it's sound or visuals, and bring everything together to create a piece.
Wow, nice. I want to say I recognize your voice. I also recognize your voice in the beginning of the film. Like, you know, you're the one bargaining the shoes.
Yeah. Oh my God. How did you?
Yeah. Just like listening to you're the one bargaining the shoes and recording.
Funny enough, we were on set for that, and I told my assistant to go bargain, and she was adding a bit of British accent because she studied there as well, and I can switch, so I was like, just go on, please. I was just, you know, going for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you also the one asking, you asked the question, what is your name? I wonder if this semiological substitution of putting yourself in the film without being physically being in the film is a theme you consciously try to explore. Because I also noticed that the name mentioned, like, your name, you said your name was mentioned, Dafe, like, what they say, oh, Dafe. And also, like, I took a look at the credits and at the end of the film, and I noticed that some of the names called were also names of people who assisted in the film. Like Madia was a production assistant, Tunde was a casting assistant, Ima was a producer and collaborator, Loretta and Ifeoma are names of, like, people that were in charge of makeup. I was wondering if this sneaky utilization of, like, utilizing a theme of absence to manifest presence of the filmmaker within the film is a theme you are wanting to explore, or is something that you explore in your other films? And
well, that part where you had, different people saying and my own voice asking the protagonist what its name is, you would have expected him to just say Smat. But it's not just this story, it's everyone's story. It's your story, it's my story, it's all the people's story, it's my mom's story. So I wanted to, especially because the story really touches on hustle and hustle as an artist, also as, a creative. And so I was like, okay, should I just like maybe go outside and do a vox pop and have people just say their names? And I just looked at it. We have like 15 people on set, and okay, you say your name. And when it got to the time to my sound engineer's turn, it was like, boss, am I going to say my name? I was like, oh, you're going to say your name too. Then we put the mic on his, and he was like, yeah, Mansuru. Well, yeah, I wanted to make sure that the names called also were names that everyone else can sort of relate to. So like names like Mardia can, another person can be Mardia. Odafe, another person can be Odafe. So like it's that for me. And yeah, I always try to put myself in my work. When I say I try to depict my reality, I'm not joking. It's literally like in there, tailored to every piece of my work.
Wow. Yeah. That's beautiful. I also observed, like, a brilliant conjecture of, like, ironic events within your film. The comparative analysis you draw between the conversation between the two girls in the beginning of the film, aspiring to marry an extremely wealthy man in the first scene, to the relationship of Smart and his partner, who, like, were in this beautiful struggle together. Another place where irony comes to play is the fact that Smart is portrayed as this flashy superstar, but who also happens to be a struggling hawker who just came to Lagos, or who is like a JJC, quote unquote.
Yeah.
The most important irony, I think, in this film is that Smart's partner is the one who this film is tailored around. The film is about, like, the clothing she makes, not Smart, in my own opinion. Knowing that this is a fashion film and, like, with a twist of storytelling, made in collaboration with Vlisco and other fashion designers. I wanted to point that out. I don't know if that's, like, true, but I know that that's just like something that's, like, I think so. I'm not sure, but there is a renaissance of experimental filmmakers in Nigeria right now, who work hand in hand, bringing each other's vision to fruition. Do you want to speak on, like, the climate of filmmaking in Nigeria and how this generous collaboration works?
It's funny how you even said Smart's partner in the film. How did you know that? Well, I wanted to leave that part open, so I don't even know if that's Smart's partner, or I think we have to ask Smart. I don't think he knows as well. So, but I wanted to add that part where I don't know. It could be the mother. It could be someone he dated. It could just be a tailor. Someone who makes his clothes. So yeah. And so, answer your question. I think the creative industry here in Nigeria, it has evolved from what it used to be, and over the years we'll see more work that are very personal coming out, and I'm very, like, excited to even, like, very excited.
Wow. So it's like, how do you, like, work with like, I know it's like, I know, like,
I know for the music, we wanted to make sure that it was created from scratch. When I first pitched the story to Vlisco&co, they were like, "Oh yes," and I'm like, "Wait, you said yes?" Then I gave them another idea, and they were like, "No, they wanted that one." I was like, "How am I going to make a music and do all of this stuff?" Then I've met Smart like 2 years before, and he's been sending me songs. So, and then I only knew him as a model. So like he's been sending me songs. So I messaged him one night, and that night he replied me with a voice note with a song. And I was like, yeah, that's the song. Just add this, add that, that's the song. Then we went to the studio to create it. So it was like a whole creative process from the, from scratch really. And we worked with people who really knew their craft, and, as well as the makeup artist and Papa Oyeyemi, Abiola, Olusola. So I'm so blessed to have worked with them because they brought it. And these are people who understand my work. They've been following me for years. I've been friends with Papa for years before, the creation of the film. So they knew and understood what, the film was all about and what the story needed to be and needed to say. And yeah, everyone really like brought it. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware that like you are a journalist by like you study journalism and school, and like you didn't study filmmaking. And like me and my friend Iyuna, who is also a photographer and filmmaker here, and we used to talk about this. So like, look at Dafe Oboro's films. He didn't study like filmmaking, and like look at like these other Nigerians like Daniel Obasi and like all of that. Like there's a lot of them who like didn't really like study like filmmaking, and that really makes me like question, like I don't say question, but like really critique the validity of, because I don't see a lot of people who went to school doing what you're doing, like so I'm like, is this actually like real? Like Western education to me is like coming over here to study and looking at like people doing this without like quote unquote like in Western education. So I've started to like rethink Western education when it comes to like art making, and like people, you guys in Nigeria just kind of very, very inspiring to a lot of people all over the world. But what was that like for you, like that switch from, I don't say switch because I don't know if your films are like journals, they're like journalistic kind of, I can see that in there, but like what was that switch for you, being a filmmaker and a producer, like
I think it all started from having this love for creating. Like even when I was in primary school up until secondary school, I was the art student. I was actually the only art student in senior secondary school in my class. All of the classmates were in science and business, and they were like, "Oh, you should just change to commerce." I was like, "No, I know where I'm going. I'm not changing." So literature class was like really boring. So then moving on to college, doing business. Then I've always wanted to be a presenter, a news presenter. So from having this love of creating and having this love of fashion, and now moving into journalism, and then after graduation, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be in the newsroom. I want to make films. So yeah, I think what we have, the creatives that you've mentioned, is the love for creating and also the talent and the ability to create from a personal point of view, as opposed to just creating stuff just to get famous. Or I know where Daniel Obasi started. We were actually friends. We met on my birthday in 2014. So it's like, yeah, those Daniel Obasi and the rest of them, and me as well, who've been creating works like that. I would say it's talent, works that have been coming from a very personal part. And also, like, I studied journalism, but it's not. I do try to put that into my work as well, like you said. So I very much, make sure that my work is very balanced. So I take the what, where, how, all of that in my work. It's almost like I'm informing people who are not here. about what's happening, you know, and also informing myself as well, because studying abroad, I didn't know so much. I did primary and secondary school in Nigeria, but it was just school, home, church, school, home. I never went out for a night out or met any friends. It was all of that until I moved to the UK, and yeah, I had a bit of a life. And then I came back to Nigeria. So creating and finding out about these things. When I first did my documentary, Slum Dwellers, it was an experience. You know, that was my first time ever knowing that people actually migrate from the villages in Nigeria into Lagos and live in slums. And I went into the slums for the first time. I took my sister with me. She was my production manager, and she gave up the first day.
Wow.
I was like, okay, I tried now. Over to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Just bringing a lot of memories. And yeah, because I had friends who lived in like slums in Lagos, and like I visited like, you know, those places and play poker. I don't know. But I feel I want to, from what you're saying, I would say like your experience in Nigeria right now became more informed after leaving and coming back. It's like, you know, yeah, so it's like the particular things you're so like used to that didn't like really fascinate you until you went away and you're like, oh wow, like, you know, this is so amazing in Nigeria. So
exactly. My mom didn't get it when I was like, I need to come back. She was like, you need to get a job in London. That's what you need to do. Don't come back.
Yeah, I'm telling my friends now that like I want to like, you know, go back at least for 5 years to work on things. Another thing I noticed in this film is like, you know, I know it's like, you know, particular like historical books, like one by Walter Rodney, and they mention like, you know, this Vlisco, the company, and like, you know, and Vlisco occupies like a strong place in historical intercontinental trade between the Netherlands and, you know, West African region. And in this film, you explored a historical West African photography also. You know, the scene depicting people taking fashionable, like, you know, fashion photographs in the photo studio. For me, like, is a strong recall of African photographers like Malik Sidibe, Seydou Keita, Solomon Alonge, the Nigerian, and the rest. The only older African filmmaker I can think of when I look at your work is Tunde Kelani. What are your like who are your influences when it comes to filmmaking?
I do enjoy Andrew Dosimu's work and Kunle Afolayan. Yeah, those people create art, and for me, have you seen Mother of George? Like, yes. That film is just, yeah. It's an experience on its own. So yeah, those two people particularly, and Lagos people. Yeah, those are my, you know, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kunle Afolayan sometimes also like, you know, puts himself into the film, so and like, you know, and
yeah, oh yeah, he's an actor as well.
Yes, so that's interesting. So I can really see that connection. Wow. Your film, like, yeah, there's something that like I really saw in your film. What was the name of that film? It was Masquerade. Masquerade.
Oh yeah, Masquerade. It's just Masquerades.
Yeah, Masquerade. Yeah.
Masquerade.
And
where?
Yeah, and something that really like, you know, caught my eyes, like, you know, how like in the film, the people who are shooting the film were like also in the film, because like, you know, the
the sound man.
Yeah, the sound man and everything, and like documenting like nature, sound, the water and everything. And one thing that really like, you know, made me like laugh so hard was the person who was meant to be like, you know, like a god figure. I don't know, it's like a spirit, like, you know, painted in blue, was holding the phone and like taking a photograph, and I just busted into laughter.
It made us laugh on set as well. It was so like, yeah, it was so funny, and it was his first time modeling, and yeah, he was 18. Yeah.
Wow.
We took him outside of Lagos, and his first time we needed to like cover his whole body and face. It was like, for my first time, so I will not show my face. Like, well. So yeah, it was funny. He enjoyed it. We just Harley just gave him the phone and he was just playing with it. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Like your films, basically, most of them. I know you've done a lot of stuff with like fashion houses, like collaborations. And I don't know, is the Miu Miu that film like
Oh,
was that like a Nigerian fashion brand or?
oh no, Miu Miu is Miu Miu, like Miu Miu. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was made in collaboration with
Ah,
Garage Magazine,
it's like it's
with
very
Ruth Osai and Daniel Obasi.
yeah.
We went to Enugu to film. Yeah.
Wow. So I really like how you kind of shot it and just made it super like very, very Enugu, very, very Igbo. Like, I started thinking, is this like Miu Miu or is this like some stuff, like it made, you get what I mean? Because it was
We
very,
made music for that as well. We made music for that, and Smart was on it. We made Mio 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 Mio.
yeah, yeah. Oh, you
Yeah.
made that song. Wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
This
it
was like,
was so funny. I gave him like the lyrics because I wrote it during post production. It was like this film needed something, and he went to the studio that day and went with a backup singer, and they came with this 2 minutes long music, and I was just laughing throughout of how like Nigerian and how like Igbotic it was, like even
yeah,
the back. Yeah, it was so. I was like, I need to put all of this in. I was like, nah, I can't put all, but I was able to put the Mio 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 Mio, but that God girl, see you, like all of that. It was so beautiful.
and in that film, there's one part where it's like he used like there's this like metaphor of like um I think yes of like them talking about like Igbo films and everything,
Yeah,
and then it just cuts off and like they took the light, electricity, and NEPA took
yeah.
the light. I'm like, oh wow. Oh my
And the mother was like, "Oh, okay, take money, go and buy fuel in
God,
Igbo." And
yeah,
we saw the girl running with a gallon. Yeah.
yeah.
That happened. Actually, I went to Enugu without a script. I wanted to actually I've never been there. So I wanted to actually just be in that space and see what happened. So Ruth Osai introduced me to her niece. So the girl is Ruth Osai's niece. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna film you. And she was so happy. She put on this nice red dress. I was like, that's it. And the mother was the one on the bike. So the mother was the one chasing them. The other girl on the phone, wearing green and calling the other girls and saying, where are you guys? So like everything just happened like very run and gone style.
Organically.
Like I just went with it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah, it's like your film Kilo Shelegongo was like a very popular one, and I really like how, to me, I think it was like something new for me because of like the fashion or the clothing these people were wearing. It's like they're very like very made from the scratch kind of, and like it's like they look like and you show them in different places and they look like aliens kind of like in those places, kind of very different. And like yeah, there's some things like they crafted like symbols of like Mercedes and Toyota and Honda like on these clothing. And it's like something that's very, very, it's like I think it's just like a very like good exploration of like like contemporary fashion and like people just putting ideas together. But one thing that really like stuck out for me is the fact that, and I think in your other films also, it's like when it comes to clothing and fashion, you avoid like strong like gender constructs like when it comes to fashion, especially in Killer Shalagangon, like they were very, very flamboyant dudes and a wig, and that's like interesting to see like somebody do that in Lagos, knowing how like strict those like those walls can be, and like how thick those walls can be.
People do it. Men tie like really nice silk scarf, especially like the motorbike drivers, and that was where I got like some part of the inspiration from, and it was the first time Moalola was filming, like making a film in Lagos. So when you said they looked like aliens, like just coming into a space, that just reminded me of it. So like definitely taking over a space for the very first time. That's why at the end of the film, you see Nelson in the middle, Idowu, then Joseph, almost like walking very slow towards the camera. It's like we're here to stay, and that was like Moa's graduate collection. So that needed to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It was another like run and gun filmmaking because there was no script made for it. Moa called me for a meeting, and she was like, "Oh, I wanted to make this film. Da, 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 da. I believe in you." I'm like, "Oh, wait, you believe in who?" Okay, then, came to set with my Nikon camera. It's a Nikon D3200. It looked so unprofessional because like the photographer had like a really big camera and I just brought like this small like DSLR to do film. And he was just like, and I was like, okay, let's see how it's going to work. And Moa was pleased. The film came out nice, and yeah.
Yeah. Before we go to the questions, I know Mahlet has one question here. I know you expected me to ask this question, so I'm just gonna ask it.
What question is that?
How was working with Beyonce?
Oh God, I did not expect you to ask that.
Yeah. Assume your friends have asked you that question so many times.
Yeah. Except my mom. My mom doesn't know who Beyonce is. Don't tell anyone. But she watched the film. She kept asking, like, who's that? Because Beyonce kept changing outfits. Like, oh, who's that? I said, that's Beyonce. Then she wears another thing. Like, who's that? That's Beyonce.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Yeah. And how was that being like for you after that? Like, was it a big shift, in your career?
Yeah, it was a big shift. And funny enough, in 2019, July, that was my mom's birth month. We went out to celebrate, and on our way back, we decided to watch a movie. And the only movie showing at that time was Lion King. And at that period, I haven't gotten a call from Packwood or anything. And so, fast forward to 2020, July, my mom's birth month, we all sat down in the living room to watch Black is King. And, it didn't occur to me until like 2 days later, the connection from 2019 and 2020. So I feel really blessed to be present, to witness, and to also be a part of this moment. It is really it was a great experience both on set and also like watching the film, which I've watched like 3 times. I'm trying not to watch it again because I know how I was when the whole thing, happened. I was just so quiet. When you're like, you're like in a new space and trying to, get used to that space. That was how it was for me, trying to really understand what's happening and if my name's actually on that thing, this co-director, or they're going to remove it very soon.
Like, is that me?
Yeah. I mean, my mom saw it and she was like, yeah, tell them.
Yeah.
And she was like, not just 1, not just 2, 3, good. Wow. She was happy. She doesn't know who Beyonce is, but she likes the credits.
Yeah. Congratulations on that. Congratulations. Your first documentary film on Slum Dwellers, I think that was very, very powerful, and I think that gentrification has been happening and is still happening, Takwa Bay and different parts of these rural areas that some of them are like islands, and the capitalists people from the government who want to make a lot of money see these could be like nice islands, and they push people away and everything. Was there any reaction from the people of Nigeria and people, maybe anybody from from any place in Nigeria to that film, trying to continue that conversation on on Slum Dwellers?
Yeah, the film was basically to start a conversation, and I saw that happen both home and abroad. And, I also tried to work post the film with the, agency that works with this, that helps the slum dwellers in Lagos, which is JEI, Justice and Empowerment Initiative. They're based in Yaba. So that year, I, was going to help, but, things got really messy. Things happened. But yeah, there were a lot of like conversations around it and like what can be done, what's happening, where these people. Still today, I still think about them and what I can do to be able to, make their lives a little bit less painful and stressful. Because I remember shooting one particular scene with the boy holding a basin of pure water, and he was about to write junior WAEC, and because of the demolition, he couldn't. And so that's sad. Now I don't know where he is. So I have been thinking so much about that. I have emailed the agency, didn't get any response. So yeah, I'm also like, even like the work, that's why my work is very much talking about people around me, to keep the conversation going about people who we don't see, on the media very often, because everything is very much so whitewashed these days. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, wow. How is filmmaking right now, like with everything that's going on right now, like, the pandemic how is the pandemic affecting like artists in Nigeria? How is that?
I think now that the airports are back open, the international airports, it's the work is slowly coming back in. But when it was like the beginning of it, I saw myself at home for counting the days, and hoping that this thing just goes away. Every tweet I read, it's like, oh, this country has found the vaccine. I'm like, okay, good. You should better bring that vaccine, because like I'm tired of staying at home. All the industries where, where they say, my mom works in the seafood industry. So she was busy. I was at home. Being a freelancer that doesn't always get jobs. So I was way more at home this time. But now things are starting to open up. And film, once things like this happen, productions have to be postponed or cancelled. It's not any other kind of work, really.
Something you mentioned earlier was that you kind of like didn't like literature in high school. But
no, I liked it. It was just because it was just me and the teacher. So it was kind of like, you're in my face.
Yeah.
Please step back.
That's funny. Yeah, because
sometimes she would just leave me to sleep because like it's just me. I'm like, thank you.
She's like, oh, Dafe. Oh, but yeah, because I see a lot of like literary, like connotations in your work. Like I read books like from like Chinua Achebe and like Wole Soyinka, and I can see those like stuff like it happening, like those things they try to do with words. I can see you like putting them in films. So I don't know. Do you?
I loved Things Fall Apart.
Things Fall Apart. Yeah.
I read that in junior secondary school. It wasn't just me in the arts class. It was two of us. I don't know why my school days were really like that bad. But yeah. But funny enough, I was best literature student in senior secondary, and that was just me. When they gave me the award, I was like, who else? So yeah, I really enjoyed reading Things Fall Apart. that's like one of my favorite, really.
Yeah, nice. Okay. We're gonna go into the questions right now. Mahlet has some questions here for us. I don't know how much time we have. But this person said, like, how do you maintain longer lasting and healthy relationships with various people you collaborate with?
I think it's realizing how it's realizing what works for you. It's almost like buying a bottle of water, and if you don't like it, you just tell the person, like, can you give me another one? The people I work with, they understand where I'm coming from. They understand the type of art I'm, wanting to put out. When I even sent the mood board for A Beautiful Struggle, these are people who know the struggle. It's almost like telling their own story. So it's important that they understand that, and that fact that they understand my work and understand where I'm going is what makes me, keep working with them. Yeah.
Nice. Another question here is, what advice will you give young filmmakers who want to get into film but maybe don't have like fancy equipment?
You don't need fancy equipment. I can't believe I'm saying this, because whenever I watch like all these interviews of big filmmakers saying that, I'm like, well, what do you want me to use? Apple phone is not, cheap, but you do need something, like you need to buy it. You need cash for it, but you don't need the Alexa Mini or anything. I would say I don't know if you know techno phones.
Yeah.
Techno phone, yeah. I made, if you've seen my film Boy You're Beautiful.
Yeah.
I made that film with a techno phone, with my Nikon D3200. So like I made it with, and I made it with a blind laptop. The laptop was like, the screen was damaged. So I was like,
with the techno phone?
Yeah. The techno phone was for the audio, because I didn't have any audio device then. Then I used the camera for my, the D3200 for my visuals. I borrowed the tripod, and some of the archive footage was from my previous documentary that I didn't use. So it was like just putting things together to create art. Just think of it like, if you've ever lived in Nigeria or any parts of Africa growing up as a child, we always play with sticks or caps. We create as children, and yeah, I think you should just go for it. Create. It doesn't have to be even visual, art. It can be something else. So just create. You never know what you have around your house. Create.
Wow. Another question is, if it was not because of COVID right now, what types of film will you be making?
I wanted to make a short film with a bit more dialogue. Yeah. Something that would not be online though. So that's sad.
Yeah.
Something you have to come and watch, like, live.
Are you going to like show it in a gallery space or something?
I haven't done it, Chukwudubem.
Oh no, like yeah. But like, is that what you plan to do? Because I would love to really see your. I know most of your.
Yeah, something like that. I've always wanted to create something that wouldn't like be so much accessible. Yeah. Something that like I create and it's like for me and my friends and around me to just watch and really experience. So yeah.
Wow. This just going off that. Okay, I know you do a lot of collaboration, like with love, like magazines and fashion houses. Do you like like how is that dynamic? Like how is that like you said you send quotes and send like mood boards to them. So how is that like relationship, and how is that how is that like how does that work? Number one, that's one question. And number two is like do you see yourself in the future creating like films to show in cinemas, like like the Beyonce film we walk in, but like your film that shows in cinemas, and also short films that show in like gallery spaces and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know one of the main things I usually say when like people who I have conversations with, and I'm like, oh, I'm a filmmaker. I'm like, oh, great. What movie have you done? I'm like, I don't work in Nollywood, honey. I, I do art. I call them just films, art films. So yeah, it's not Nollywood. I don't see myself making a full-on movie or a full-on cinematic film. Something like Beyonce's visual album. My mom didn't know what the hell she was watching, but she knew it was beautiful. My sister was like, okay, I don't get it. I'm like, calm down. It's just a visual album. It's for you to like really experience the visuals and the song. And she was like, oh, like a long music video. Like, yes, like a long music video. So I think making films like has different like departments. So you choose where you want to really place your art. And mine is really not. I don't think I would want to go on set and record takes upon takes of people talking and talking and talking. I really want to just, maybe if I do it, it would be my own style, and people watching could have like 30 minutes of, visuals in their face and just experiencing that particular moment as they please. You saying that Smart's the lady's Smart's partner. That's what you got from it, and that's what I want. I don't want to explain myself.
Yeah,
as a person, I don't know how to explain myself.
Wow.
So yeah,
that was beautifully put together. Yeah, this person asks that you've already worked with Beyonce, which is like the top. So, and that's amazing. Is there another dream person you'd like to collaborate with?
Funny enough, Beyonce was not a dream come true. Those kind of dreams you dream, like you wake up and give yourself a hot slap, like, nah, it's never gonna happen. I never dreamt about working with anyone as huge as Beyonce. Like, I've not really done so much, as a filmmaker. So getting the call and realizing that, I called my sister at around this time, before call time on that day, because we were not allowed to tell anyone. So I had to tell someone, because like someone needs to tell me that I can do it. Like, I'm already like planning to text them and say, guys, I'm ill. I can't show up, because I kept asking myself, like, why me? Why would they choose me? Why, out of all the filmmakers in the world, talk of Nigeria, why did they pick me? So I called my sister and she was like, what do you mean, why did they pick you? Well, they picked you, so better go and show up and do the work. So yeah. And yeah, I was like, okay, don't tell anyone. NDA. She was like, what did you tell me again? So yeah, it was I think, even watching Black is King, I saw Yemi Alade. I don't know if you know Yemi Alade.
Yeah, Yemi Alade.
Performer. And when a part just came out up, I was just smiling. I felt so much pride and so much power, and the energy she brought in was so like beautiful. And yeah, that's someone who I would love to work with, if you want an answer to your question.
Well, yeah, you're like, do I know Yemi Alade? Just want you to know that I spent most of my life in Nigeria.
Okay.
Just want you to know that. I don't know if I have an accent yet. If I have an accent, I don't want it. But yeah, I spent my life in Nigeria. But yeah, this person asked, what university did you go to?
I went to Nottingham Trent University in England. Yeah. There's this joke about what university is in Nottingham. There's University of Nottingham and there's Nottingham Trent University. So I would say I went to the good one. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's not the truth. The other school will say theirs is the good one. So yeah.
How this person asks, how important is the costume design and styling to you while making a film?
I'll say for A Beautiful Struggle, everything was made from scratch. So everything was built on my own idea, my idea as a foundation. So I created the first draft for the film for Vlisco&co. They confirmed that I make the second draft with specific details for the designers, and they used that to create without any even like briefing or meetings, just the mood boards, and they were able to create amazing stuff. And even the trousers that Papa Oyeyemi made, they were a bit like jumped, and on set we were like talking about Smart's height because he's he's not so tall, and the trousers were jumped, and we were like, okay. It actually works because people on the mainland, specifically people who hawk, they tend to wear trousers that that are not so balanced on the feet. So everything was like specifically made, so much attention to details, and kudos to my designers, they were amazing.
Yeah. This person's asking a similar question. Is like, what stylistic I don't know if this is similar or not, but what stylistic aesthetic do you lean into towards while making a film?
Reality. So like stuff like what I'm wearing, stuff like what you're wearing. So like it's I draw inspiration from people around me. I remember in the treatment, I specifically wrote like just use like the idea of the film and like the visuals that I've put together to create. And these are people who have lived in Lagos, they're Nigerians, so they're aware of like the happenings and everything else. So yeah, when I tend to like work on my own specific like idea and putting a stylist into that idea, it's very much documentary style. So we don't try to make it fantastic or glossy or out of this world. It has to look like, you just found someone from the street and filmed them.
Nice. Yeah, I think we're not going to, I just ran out of time. So we're going to like end it here. And thanks a lot. I'm going to hand over for Shaneela and Nasrin to come like close. But thanks a lot for talking with me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Hello, am I on now? Is it me? So thank you to everyone so much for coming out to the film screening tonight. Whoever viewed on Facebook and YouTube, thank you so much. And thank you so much to Dafe for joining us for the film screening and the discussion. It was such a pleasure to have you. You're so cool. Such a pleasure and a privilege to have you. Thank you to Plug In ICA and the University of Manitoba Institute for the Humanities for co-presenting the screening with us and giving space for Daphe's wonderful work. And finally, thank you to my co-members, Mahlet and Chukwudubem, for organizing this amazing night. So we've come to the end of the event. So if you don't follow us already, and if you want to keep updated for our next event, please follow us on Collective Patterns on Instagram, which we'll link down below. And that's it. Everyone have a great night, and please stay safe out there.
Okay, I think it's my last thank yous too. I just want to make a shout out to all our team here at Plug In. It was a collective effort to put this book fair together. I want to thank Luther Konedu, Plug In's program coordinator, Aaron Josephson Laidlaw, our operations manager, Madeline Defoe, our communications coordinator, and Alison Yearwood, our executive director. I also want to say thank you so much to Colby and Scott from Collective Broadcast for facilitating our online live stream. And to organize everything behind the scenes for all the tech. Thank you so much, Patterns Collective. Thank you so much, Dafe. That was an incredible conversation and just a beautiful film. And I hope to see more of your work. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And please do check out our exhibitors for the Prairie Art Book Fair at plugin.org. Good night.